What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Simon Says. Today, I want to talk to you about how to identify the potential right partner for you, right? It's both for the men and the ladies. So, I'm gonna start off with the ladies, okay? Now, this is the kind of man that I want you to kind of keep in mind when you're dealing with all these suitors is David, all right? And I'm gonna tell you why. When David was being selected to be the next king of Israel, he first of all he wasn't selected first. He was actually the last to be picked out because when Samuel went to Jesse's house to go and find the next king of Israel, Jesse presented to him this first seven sons. These big burly guys, each of them probably both over like 6'4", like 230 pounds of just muscle. These are men's men. These are guys. They are those guys, right? But each time that Samuel went and talked to him, God said no. And remember, Samuel went to the next one and said, surely it's got to be this guy. And God said no, because he said, do not look upon his countenance or his stature, for I have rejected him. Because man looks on the outward appearance, but I look at the heart. So Samuel asked Jesse, he said, do you have another son? And Jesse's like, yeah, I got a son. He's out in the field working right now. So he goes and he gets David. And when David comes in, he's all dirty. You can tell he's been out working. And Samuel selects him because that's who God had selected as well. And so when, fast forward to David versus Goliath, you guys know how it is. Goliath was talking big trash about God, and David, who's just bringing lunch to his brothers because they're fighting this battle. And when Goliath said that no one wanted to stop him from, talking trash about God, David was the one who stepped up. And to me, this was David putting his heart on display, because when God says, I look at the heart, God knew what David was going to do. David was a man after God's own heart. And when he heard how bad Goliath was talking about God, he couldn't let that slide. He was like, nah, man, I want smoke. He went to the river, collected 5 smooth stones, put in a slingshot with one shot, and took care of business. Versus his brothers, who were scared. And these are big guys. They're bigger than David, but David, regardless of how big he was or how little he looked, he stepped up. And this is there's another verse I want to share with you, is in Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23. It says to keep diligence of your heart, for out of it are the issues of life. And David, time and time again, even after David and Goliath, you see his trajectory, how he chased after God's own heart and how he was blessed for it, because he always did what he had to do, right? And I think David is a perfect example of a man who is overlooked because he doesn't look the part, but when it came down to it, stepped up and did what he was supposed to do. And because his heart was in the right place, God blessed him for it. So ladies, what I want you to look at, and I don't want you to think that just because a man looks the part, that doesn't mean that he is, because there are men who look the part and are the part. So don't just try to have this absolute mindset of, oh, if he's this and that, then he's lacking in this. No, what I want you to do is to investigate and find out, if past the physical appeal, if this man's heart is in the right place. Is this man the type of man who is like David, is not afraid to step up, does not let his stature stop him from doing the right thing? Because if he is that man and you find him physically appealing, congratulations, you probably have the right man. But if he's everything that you want on the outside, but in his heart is just like, oh, well, I don't much care for this. I'm not really willing to step up. I'm not willing to risk X, Y, and Z because I got to look out for myself. Chances are that relationship is not going to work, okay? Now, for the fellas, let's get something out the way real quick, okay? Yes, we care about looks. Ladies, I want you to understand that we do care about looks, but it's not to the point where you have to go and just try to do these extreme stuff to look. No, you don't have to do all that, all right? But fellas, here's the thing, man. Find a woman that you're attracted to, but don't lean into it to the point where you feel you have to get the best looking woman all the time. Okay, that's just vanity, and vanity doesn't mean anything. Okay, it doesn't do anything for you other than wear out its welcome. All right, but number two, go ahead and read Proverbs chapter 31. Now there's many other scriptures that, kind of outline what makes a good woman, but I think Proverbs 31 is one where it's kind of like in a pill form. It's right there, it's clear for you to see, and it kind of it kind of illustrates the main point. I will admit that times today are much different than times when Proverbs 31 was written. Nowadays, you don't have to. Women have much more availability and opportunities to progress socially and stuff like that too. So that there is that. But the main gist of Proverbs 31 is you need to find a woman who is willing to be responsible, not just for her own personal life, but for the relationship and the family as well. And the thing you need to understand is that just because a woman has a job, has a career, does not necessarily make her a Proverbs 31 woman. Because a Proverbs 31 woman has a responsibility that she fulfills to her family. A woman who has a job and a career may just be doing that just because she wants to live a certain lifestyle. And you got to know how to be able to differentiate between the two. I'm not saying this makes her a bad woman. I'm just saying if you're going out looking for a woman who can be a good mother and a good wife, and you find a woman who's like, oh, I got this great job, I got this great career, and you're expecting that out of her, you may not get what you want, right? So have the eyes and the awareness to be able to differentiate between a woman who simply is living a certain lifestyle versus a woman who is willing to be responsible in the relationship, to be active in the relationship. Because here's the ultimate thing, fellas. You can be the living example of a good husband, of a good father, of a great man. But the reality of life is that there are just some things that you cannot do. There are some things that you're just not good at. And what those things are vary from person to person, from relationship to relationship. Most men are pretty similar, but we don't all have the same strength and we don't all have the same weaknesses. And the sign of a great woman is a woman who knows the strengths and weaknesses of her husband and is able to step in to the roles where he cannot be. She's willing to be present in the places where he can't be present in. That's the sign of a great woman, right? When God made Eve for Adam, he said it is not good for man to be alone. He said that even though Adam was out there naming all these animals and doing all the things that God was supposed to be doing, right? That God told Adam to do, he was still alone. And ultimately, what Eve did is she provided him with company, and I'm sure that she did things for him that he just simply couldn't do for himself, right? So, fellas, when you're out there in the world trying to find the right wife for you, like I said earlier, man, if you're attracted to her, that's a good thing. But don't lean into it so much to where you're like, she's not as attractive as X, Y, and Z, because again, that's just vanity and you're doing yourself a disservice, right? But also make sure she's the type of woman who is willing to be present in the relationship. Not just present, matter of fact, active in the relationship. If you're doing your part, she's doing her part. If you're lacking in something, she's stepping in. Same way that if she's lacking in something, you're stepping in. And I'm gonna say this because I think we've kind of gone too far with this conversation. Guys, it is not a woman's sole responsibility to be a parent. You know what I'm saying? It's not just on her, like you can be, you are a dad, be a dad, you know what I'm saying? It's not just on her responsibility to cook and clean. That's you too. You know what I'm saying? It's about everybody doing what we can. All right. Share the responsibility, share some of that burden. Okay. Don't just be like, I'm only gonna do this and you're only gonna do this, because that's a good way to have a lot of arguments. Okay, sometimes she might take the majority of this and you might take the majority of that, but at least be willing to swap every once in a while, because it shows that you care. It shows that you value their contributions. All right, so that's all I have, man. That's all I have. Hopefully this made sense. I hope it maybe opened people's eyes a little bit, and allows you to be willing to be more critical of the next person that you consider for the relationship. Not critical in a bad way where you're looking for all the flaws, but critical in a way that allows you to get to the heart of that person, if you're, like I said, if you're dealing with the man, is his heart in the right place? And if you're dealing with the woman, is she willing to be active in a relationship? And if the answer to those questions is yes, you might have found the right partner. Anyway, that's all I have for today. See y'all next time.